and a couple of strawberries. I had them for 27 cents at Dunnes Stores in Wexford. They're not the best this time of year, but these weren't too bad. The small ones are good. Just to give you a little bit of joy. And some culture, food for the soul. Little painting I did. Actually didn't look at what type of bird that is. Maybe you can tell me. A little bear in the making. A little sketchy fella. Trying to climb the tree, look. Tickle his belly, he might fall down. So, in this video, I just want to share with you a design. This goes out to my fellow musicians, a lot of which would be far better percussionists than I am. I just haven't had the need to develop it from earlier on, you know. I only really learned drumming just to write songs, just to accompany songs and get rhythms for songs and play along with songs. For the enjoyment of it. But the last little while has seen me building a cajon drum, because I got interested in just developing myself a little bit more, because I had my development arrested in my younger years for drug abuse. I got into drugs very young, solvent abuse, substance abuse very young. And I was, very good at hiding it, because I wasn't unintelligent. So sometimes your intelligence can be your sabotage, especially when there are demons around leading you to make the wrong decisions. So in this, I just want to show you. This one, I'm just going to take it out of the thing. So I've painted a tiger on it there. And big bright drum. The idea was just to play a bit of drumming on the street and brighten up the street a bit. I have done that. And it's handmade, this cajon. I used dovetails, sorted dovetails, to make it like a little jigsaw puzzle. You see, it's like a jigsaw. It's put together like a jigsaw at angles, you know. A child's toy might be made like that, and they have to build it together, you know, that kind of thing. And that's all I've done with it. Now, if you made the dovetails a lot tighter and a lot better, you probably wouldn't even need anything else, and you could play it as a cajon, you know. Maybe just one little lock at the back or something. But it would be good for a person that wants to pack one away and to take up very little space, you know. But also be good for somebody who wants to change the front playing material, you know. I think the cajon has been little explored. They haven't really explored a lot of materials for the front. People have done a lot behind the scenes, but I mean, in terms of different materials, maybe, you know, plastics or, you know, things like that. Even, you know, surfaces that could be struck while you're sitting on it with beaters or, you know, rods and stuff like that. So there's a lot of potential for these little box drums. But what I did was, and this is the main point of the video, is you see I made a kick drum pedal. Now I might go into more detail one day and take it apart and show everybody how I made it. But I've been able to make a very, very effective kick. And this pedal hinges on a very simple system, and it's, sorry, I'll show you a better angle. It's pulled by springs so that it resets when you take your foot off. Now, because you don't want it to be at a different position on the heel of the foot the next time you go to press your foot down, because it can cause some problems. No, you could use it that way, but you wouldn't be able to use it as delicately or as accurately in terms of being sure that it's going to come on the beat every time, you know, because of its location to your foot. So what I did was I added this little plate, and it scoops up underneath, and I chiseled out a groove for it to conform to, and it's inserted into it. And so it's still level and contacts the ground at the same height, which is vital to its function. And then you press this plate, and when your foot is flat on the ground, that's when the beater strikes the cajon. So what this allows you to do is effectively just tap your foot like you would as a normal musician. Just as a guitarist, just as a bass player, you're lifting your heel and you're tapping your foot to the beat. But now you can play a kick drum while you're doing it. You don't have to learn any new skills. All you have to do is tap your foot as though you were playing your instrument. And you can sit on this drum, this is your chair, and now you can hit this. See how accurate it is? So it only strikes the drum face exactly at the point where it has struck the floor. That's key to this design, because it's a rigid design. The arm that moves the pedal moves the hammer. It's one piece. It's just metal at a 90-degree angle with a bit of a loop in it. Something I found down the Euro shop. Did a bit of a MacGyver on it. And it's like a hook that you hang garden tools on or something in the shed, and you'd screw it onto the wall. I cut it in half with a hacksaw, and I used one side of it as the arm, and I drilled a hole and put it through the cajon, so it takes the foot pedal or the foot block, just sits on top of it and it's bolted on. And it travels through the drum, and then the hammer is on the other side, and all the hammer is a ping pong ball. A big ping pong ball, and a bit of a sock on it to muffle it a bit. It works ideally. Not too heavy, not too light. It's just the right weight for the action to give you the right volume you want, and to still have enough control over it. I think the further you deviate away from center with the hammer, the more momentum you'd gain, and the more downforce would be on the front of the drum, which would also make it harder for the springs to pull the beater back up, because they have to travel a farther distance pass upright, which might cause problems as well with them. So it just worked. It just happened to work, because of where it needed to be for the foot was ideal for its positioning with that design. And it's a better design. Now, there are two ways to play a kick drum. You can play it like that with your foot, bunk, and press the pedal, or you can play it backwards, bunk, with your heel. This one requires you to play with your heel, but it only requires you, this is what's brilliant about this, is it only requires you to lift your foot a tiny bit off the ground. And I say brilliant in terms of how you can play it. So I'll give you a listen and show you how easy it is. Now, as fast as your heel can go, the beater will go, because it's timed right. Now, it's sitting on the carpet at the moment, so it's not very accurate. It needs to be in contact with the ground. It needs to be on a perfect level. So you could play it on the carpet, but the carpet can't be under the beater. It has to be only under the drum. It can't be under the plate. I want to add a little bit of a rubber cover on the bottom of it, so you don't hear the metal plate hitting the ground, and that'd be ideal. But if anybody wants more detail on how to build it, because it really is very functional, just contact me on Facebook, Stephen Talon, and I'll give you the rundown. I'll make you a little video and you can see how I made it inside and whatever. You might come up with a better idea, but at least it'll put you on to what I've done, because I've seen other ones done. Ruach, R-U-A-C-H, a drum company up north, They make cajones, and they make one with a built-in pedal. Excuse me. And Tony from Tracks in Wexford Town, he sells them, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen them on his website. But this pedal here, it does something theirs doesn't. And it allows your foot to remain in a natural position where you're just tapping your foot to the music. You don't, which means when your foot's in a natural position, there's much less wear and tear when you're playing the kick drum, and you don't have to consider your foot or your leg being at funny angles, or your foot slipping off of it if you're not holding it right, or because then other tensions come into the movement, tensions in the limb to keep your heel at that height. None of that exists with this design, because your foot can sit on the plate and it can be in a perfectly natural and neutral position as when sitting, which means your sitting posture will improve, everything. And I found that it allows me to open up my knees and really access the front of the drum more, which is what you want as a cajon player. You want to access all the face of the drum. You don't want to have to squeeze your foot in because you have to keep your heel at a funny angle. Now I can put my foot right out to the end of the plate, and I'm really comfortable. I'm really well balanced, and I can sit up straight and play for longer, etc., etc. So it's a cool design. It really works. And I've been playing cajon for a couple of years. A friend of mine, and I say playing one, it's not my main instrument, it's just messing around on them. But you know, as part of a drum circle or whatever, you're doing simple beats. But the guy who built them was a percussionist, a drummer for years. Excuse me. And I can't remember what I was going to say there about them. Oh yeah, he had a design in them where he inclined the back so you sort of had the drum a little bit up between your legs a little bit more, you know what I mean? So you have to you don't have to reach down as far to get your hands to where they need to be to play the drum. So you could stay up in that upright posture and your hands would reach where they need to reach. So you could get the bass notes a bit lower down and the notes higher up without having to lean forward. So you could stay in this good and comfortable posture for many hours at a gig. And it worked for him. He played many gigs alongside me. So that's obviously the ideal. And while you're in, the reason I didn't put that design or the incline on this drum is because I'd be playing guitar sitting on it. So I wouldn't really be playing the face of the drum so much. But it's still the right height. You can still play it in that posture. You can still get fairly good playing posture on it. But it's just something else you could consider when you're building your own, which I'd advise anybody to do who can drill a hole and put a dowel in it. I mean, there's very few limitations. And there's lots of help online. And if you want any advice on building it, just things I found when I was building mine, feel free to ask. And of course, the design can be improved on when you have more tooling. I have very limited tools. I've got a handsaw and a hammer and a drill, but it's not a cordless drill for drilling screws. It's one for, you know, drilling big holes in concrete. So I've had to hurt my hand once trying to use it because it's not really for that. But yeah, so yeah, it's been a worthwhile little project. The main feature, I suppose, on this one is the kick, and the kick is really, it is actually revolutionary. It sounds like you're rebelling against the state or something. It's, you know, it is a new little bit of design. It is a new thing which will change your drumming as a cajon player and open up a whole spectrum of new beats that somebody much better at playing the cajon than me could access, and it'll open it up to a drummer, like before they became a cajon player. It'll just open it wide for them. Because now, once they start applying their drum kit to this and adding their hand percussion to it, they just have this beautiful wide range of sounds that they can access. Now I've only a few beats. Like I play some beats. I'd entertain you playing the beats. Like I'd have a good range in the beats. I'd tell you a little story in the beats, you know, take you on a little journey in the beats. But I wouldn't be at mastery level on paradiddles or rudiments or, you know, any of that mummy daddies and right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. I'd play that, but it would be as a fill in a drum beat, not as a really high speed hand drill or something, or a roll. I actually don't really see the point in that. That really, really fast stuff as like a solo drummer who is just trying to create a groove and a dance and a vibe and tell a story. Sometimes that becomes a little bit self-indulgent for the hand percussionist, because people hear something fast, but really it's sort of beyond most people's ears to really appreciate the texture and the flow of that. So I think you don't really have to be an adept drummer with fast hands to really enjoy a cajon, so you should do it. It's good crack. And you don't know who you'll inspire to take it up, who might be brilliant and don't know it yet. So just do it. Put yourself out there, you know. So the kick drum, I think, would really help somebody who's very good at drumming. I'm going to put it on the floor there so you can hear it, because in the position it's in, I haven't been able to do it justice. If anybody wants help with the design or wants help with a build, give me a shout. I'm more than happy to help. Okay, so now it's on the floor and you can see it's off the carpet. Now I could put it on the carpet and put the beater off the floor, and I'll show you how that would still work, because lads like to have a carpet under their drum because it makes the sound a little bit more muffled or dampened. See how quick it is? If your heel can go faster than mine, your kick drum will be faster than mine. But you can develop that speed. And actually what I might do, what I'm noticing now is, I might put a little plate on the plate, if you know what I mean, just to raise it slightly off the ground a bit more, so that I can access a faster heel, you know what I mean? Because my heel can go this fast. Right? Your heel can go that fast if you're up on the sort of the ball of your foot. But then your heel is too far off the ground. So if I go, and I'm just sort of conceptualizing now, if I do the heel, and I'm in a funny posture now because half of my foot's up on the carpet and half of it's down. Just give us a second. So if your foot can go steadier and faster than mine, you can do that sort of speed on the kick. But like most people would only be doing, like, I'll give you a beat. Do you want that do 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 do, you know? So it's going to take a little bit of tweaking, and that's just about the end of the plate, the depth of the plate, things like that, and you can play with that. And I will play with that, and I will get it right to where it's like every time you put your heel on it, you get that clean, clear sound. Oh, that's a better position now. I found a better position right up against the beater. See how clear and crisp it is, and how even it is? Now you can make that as loud as you want by hitting it harder. See? But I don't think that's going to be comfortable to be doing that for a gig, you know? And I say most people at a professional gig will mic up their cajon anyway, so they'll have much more control over the dynamics of the sound. And at that stage, you're really trying to reduce the volume of the kick, not, you know, in its raw form or at source sound, so that you can have a better dynamic or open up the gain so you can get a nicer, fuller, rounder sound, you know. So it's not perfected yet, but it's very close to that stage where it's very usable, very steady, very clear and crisp each time you hit it. See, I was kind of limited with what I could do because the beater, what I used for a beater, and it'll go right back up sort of and sit alongside it, so it's not going to poke anybody's eye out, you see, because it's up at that upright angle when you're transporting it. At least it shouldn't. I'll give you a look at the other side of the cajon. There's another hand painting on it. I painted an orangutan beside a tree with a cabasa. Painted a little flower on that. Fun little project. But yeah, the kick needs a bit of tweaking for sure. But it's quite a nice sounding kick, isn't it? Really nice. Yeah, it just needs a little bit of tweaking. It's funny how there, it's really sensitive. If you use the front of your foot, so you could, I mean, essentially you could use it. You could use this in that orientation if you were standing playing your guitar and you'd have a kick drum as well, you know. So there's a kick drum, you could use it in that format. So there's a lot of potential for it in different usages, you know. I wonder what it is about it that I've done there that gives it that nicer sound. Maybe it's just where I'm sitting. Where the sound is carrying a bit better, you know. We're getting more of what's coming out from under the cajon. But that's the thing about the location of your mic as well. It plays a big part in the sound you're getting overall, you know. We used to put a mic into it. Oh, you're talking to the wall. We used to put a mic into and we'd put a mic clip on the sound hole at the back. So the mic would be sort of freestanding, and at the back of the drum it doesn't really act on the drum so much. So that the impact of your playing wouldn't transfer into the clip and then into the mic. And we had it on a suspended stand anyway, so it was like a studio mic, studio stand where you put it in, and there are bands all around to suspend the mic, so that the vibrations don't transfer from the mic stand or anything around the mic into the mic. And we had a really expensive mic, a €600 mic or something, in the cajon drum, and it was just creating this beautiful sound. But we'd also supplement that with like a tom-tom drum mic at the front of the cajon, I think it was. And we used to get this beautiful big, like, kick drum room sound from the cajon, you know. Really, really nice. So, I mean, the potential to use a cajon in a full band, like a big band sound, it's there. You could do it, for sure. We did it. We produced a big bass kick drum sound from a cajon. We were sitting right beside the subwoofers, so we could feel it. But yeah, no, it's a worthwhile project, and I just wanted to share that kick drum design with you. It still needs a bit of tweaking, which is good, because in the tweaking of it, you really find its sweet spot, and that will translate, of course, into the design, and then other people can avail of that, because that's what you want. You want people to be able to avail of that design of your work and use it, you know, to good effect. Really simple design. Just a block of wood on a little arm through the drum, bolted on, and then there's this little angle bracket. It's all I could find is a metal plate, and it's nice and lightweight. It's fairly slimline, So I chiseled out a groove in the bottom of this, and now it'll contact the ground. I think it'd be better if I could hammer this up slightly more. I'd get a bit more penetration, because there's a little bit of a curve in that band right now, and it's contacting the ground too soon, if that makes sense, before the beater has a chance to really smoothly contact and hit the front of the cajon drum. Because it's in here, the hammer's in here hitting against this surface, you see. And this kick tilts it and strikes the front. So this little curl I have in here needs to be hammered back. And I might be able to get, a tool that will do that. Some kind of a grips or something that will help me to bend this slightly. It's just when I was hammering it, of course, it bent over a little bit. But because I don't have like an anvil or anything like that, I just had to screw it to a piece of timber and hit it over the edges, a piece of metal. But so yeah, that's just needs a bit of tweaking. That's all that is. And then I can maybe put a plate on this plate just to give it a wider surface area maybe, and just a little bit more height, so that the heel can just come ever so slightly off the ground. And I think that would be optimal then. So take the kink out of this, put a plate on this, and then whatever the plate is going to be, I have no idea. Don't know, maybe it's just a little wooden sliver that I put through, or no, I think it's quite hard actually. Actually, what I might just do is put some foam or rubber foam sort of, which will adhere to it, glue it on or stick it on. Maybe on both sides, That might be the solution there, just a bit of tape. Spongy foam on either side, and if it deteriorates you can replace it, It's only stuff. Might be the solution, because then it will remove any clanking sound from underneath the plate and give you a bit of grip on the top of the plate and a bit of height as well, which will be good. Yeah. So in most cases the noise it's making off the ground is going to be a lot quieter than the kick itself anyway. And it sort of gives you that little coin on the end of your beater, or the way they put the coin on the kick drum skin to give it that sort of little quack, that little hit. So it mightn't be something you want to get rid of, Mightn't be necessary to get rid of it. But we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, an enjoyable little project. It's after taking me a long time. I had the ideas quite quickly, thankfully, but it took me quite a time to get it executed to that stage. Because it's all sort of play it by ear stuff, But it's very effective now. Because the reason I did it was because you could free up the kick and play your guitar. You didn't have to play, you could use your foot there. You're tapping your foot anyway to the guitar. So now you could sit on your cajon, play your guitar, tap your foot, and you'd have a kick drum. So now it's much betterly, making up words this morning. It's much better executed now. You'll be able to just tap your foot sitting on it in good posture and not give it a second thought, really, You won't be getting uncomfortable or cramps in your calf or sore heel, because you're just doing what you'd be doing the whole time anyway. And no need for expensive €200 kick drum extensions or whatever. They're quite expensive. And a lot of them take up the whole front of the cajon. They're big yokes, like. So you might as well have a kick drum then. You know what I mean? You're not going to improve on a kick drum making a kick out of a cajon. So that allows you to use your cajon as a kick drum while sitting on it which of course as a busker that's preferable because you're reducing the amount of space you take up, and you're not sitting on a cold steel structure or a windowsill or whatever's available. You're sitting on something, which means you can now choose exactly where you're going to sit to busk, exactly where. And I've seen lads bring chairs with them, little folding chairs, to do that. So, and a lot of guys just stand up, which allows you to do that as well. But if you did want to sit down, or if you wanted to have your kick drum, now you can sit on a relatively comfortable surface. Got a pad there. Got a couple of pads there. I think I'll try and improve on them or get thicker ones, you know, for a bit more padding. Because I'm not a very padded man. So that's what I'll do. Keep tweaking that. There's quite a nice little bass sound out of this one. And a nice snare. The snare almost sounds like a brush. It has that sort of looseness to it, which I like. It's a bit of a, you know what I mean, a little bit of spit in it, which is quite nice. It's loose and brushy and jazzy, you know. But you could tighten that up just by cutting your snare, because I just have the snare going across the whole front of the drum, which is what's allowing it to be loose. But if you wanted to make it really tight and reduce the decay or the sustain of it, you just get your snare trail and cut it in half and bend it so that when you screw it to the side of the wood, it's quite pressed against the cajon. And you could put 2 or 3 of those if you wanted, and then you can choose their positioning, of course. I just have mine up the top so that there'd be less of it down the bottom and more of it up the top, because up the top is where you get your snarey, higher end, higher pitched sounds. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so you'd cut them in half and then you'd place them against the front of the ply on the front of the cajon there, the striking surface, and you'd have a quicker snare. I think something you could say. It won't take as long to decay. The sustain won't be as long because it's pressed. So it's like if you press your drumstick into the snare when you're striking it, it stops. Whereas if you leave it loose, it goes. And that's pretty much what's happening with that one because it's loose. So, but it's not too loose. It's giving a nice amount of sustain, especially if you're playing more slowly, because there's the time for it to rest. That's the beauty of a snare. You can get all your tones with one hand, or of a cajon. You get lads playing, going with a big shaker and playing the cajon with their right hand or whatever orientation. But so yeah, there's a lot of options there. So if you just came to the video, it's just showing in this video. It's just showing the design I have there for a kick drum in the cajon. Woot, 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 woot. So yeah, that just needs a little bit of tweaking, but an effective little design on a budget, or even not on a budget, it works, you know. So if anybody's interested in that design, hit me up and I'll show you what I did, and hopefully you can replicate or improve on the design, because the drumming community could use it really, really well. Like really professional drummers, and I've played with a few of them over the years, guys that are just born in countries where they're percussionists, Brazil or maybe Morocco, something like that, and they're just naturally exposed to percussion from very young, and you kind of developed this beautiful rhythmical pattern and hand speed, and it's just lovely, really lovely to listen to. those guys could really make use out of that. Can you imagine what they could do with it? Because they've got that extra kick. It might take them a while to recalibrate, and then be able to really sort of flesh that out. But the potential is great. The potential is great for what they can do with the drum, So there's your cabasa. You know what a cabasa is? Oh, so if you want to do, then you have to start on the backstroke. It's fun to play with these things and figure things out as you're going along, how you can fit this into your beat or fit that into your beat. And I've got on the other side, what do you call these things again? I can't remember what you call them. But you can strike them, I'll show you. Here's a little Bowron beater I made out of a bit of dowel. But yeah, so you strike this fella. Actually, I have a couple of bells sitting on him at the moment, and it's giving him a nice ring. And so that guy can be, the way. Yeah. So you can be using those guys while you're sitting on the cajon. You can use these just underhand as well, So lots of different options. I'll keep adding to it and see what I can add to it, Not just for the sake of adding to it, but things that are actually functionally available to me as a drummer, because I'm not actually a master drummer or anything. I'm only really doing it for the crack. But you can still sort of discover things that can be helpful to the drumming community and actually add to the what's available to them to really realize their capacities as drummers, Just needs some tweaking. And actually, a bit sloppy this morning, but I've built these long beaters that allow you to sort of play very upright, like a little drummer boy, just. And they're quite high speed. You can get a good wrist angle on them to get high speed. Then of course you can add your tambourine to your foot, your left foot. It's doing nothing anyway. You might as well flesh out the sound a bit. See what I mean about making the timbre, the tone, or what's accessible to you as part of your soundscape as being not more important in the greater scheme of things, but certainly something that the listener can appreciate who isn't a drummer, maybe a little bit more, is the variety in sound rather than the complexity of rhythm. They're quite high speed, aren't they? And then the sky's the limit. You can get your didgeridoo out, you know. You can get your didgeridoo on the go. And what I was doing the other day is I grabbed a little frame drum and I put the frame drum between my knees. And I have a little beater I made here with a ping pong ball. And I my didgeridoo. And I was doing something along these lines. Like, see what I mean about your variety of sound can be much more of a stimulation than like the complexity or the speed of a rhythm, which is beautiful. Don't detract from that. Like, I'm not trying to, but it, like, speed. You can get to the point where it's kind of an assault on your senses, you know what I mean? And instead of that, like, but a drummer practices his rudiments, of course he does. But it can get to the stage where it's self-indulgent, and they don't pretend. That's why you have jazz clubs, and they know they're indulging. But for the general listener, I think you can give more to them in terms of enrichment by fleshing out your sound. Simple, but it's not that it's intoxicating, but it's nourishing, you know. It feeds, and you can do it on your Todd. And then you just play it backwards. Very engaging, isn't it? Because you've a little bit to think about now. The beat went backwards, you know. It's just all that's happening is the snare is falling on a different beat. And no snare creates a gap, creates a space, so that now what you're not playing is also part of the rhythm. You know, you have to work with your limitations. Like, I've got a deviated septum. I'm not going to be able to learn circular breathing. So now, instead of not playing didgeridoo at all, I can play didgeridoo and I can fill in the gaps with the drum beat and incorporate the two. I won't be a master drummer. I won't be a master didgeridoo player, but I can become a composer of rhythms in the absence of being a virtuoso in any one of those instruments that are part of the rhythms. So the rhythm becomes the priority, and how it's perceived, how it's translated, how it's communicated, how it makes the person feel, you know. And that's, I think, the point of music. It's the essence of music, is how you can impact another positively by what you're doing. Even the person who's not a musician. And continue to learn from real musicians. Because still, even to this day, and when we grow up as adults, the little play school rudimentary poems and songs that we learned then are still formative in our understanding of the musical spectrum. And so the simplicity of the tune is not a parameter of how much it can influence a person or affect them positively or negatively. So it just opens up a whole, it opens up a whole two hands. When you can put your kick there and your snare sound on your left foot, or your tambourine sound, sort of in the same spectrum of sound, and can do the same job. And here you have this frame drum. Now it's also acting like a snare. So now I've got a sort of a hi-hat on my left foot, a snare on my left hand, which is where it's used to being anyway. And I've got my right hand here cupping this didgeridoo. So I can do a didgeridoo, a kick drum with my right foot, a tambourine with my left foot, a snare sound, and a cabasa every now and again on one man. I'm basically doing an entire jungle beat, an entire percussion section, you know, or like a kit, like just a drum kit. But the fact that it's such a wide variety of tones and sounds, like the frame drum, the cajon, the didgeridoo, the cabasa, all these different things, you can start fleshing out these different world sounds, bringing them all together, creating like jungle rhythms, or, you know, something that would actually engage people on this level. And that's all I want to do with it, is really be an addition to people's, you know, community and culture. And that's all I'm trying to do here with this, is just enjoy what I'm doing and bring something out to the people on the street. And we're living in a day now where it's becoming increasingly difficult to just express yourself if it's not exactly how the state tells you to, you know, because they're trying to control us. They're trying to get these constraints and controls on us, and they're treating us like fools. You know, on the one hand, they're talking about, you know, this metropolis of, you know, inclusion and collaboration of different cultures and stuff. But they're just, at the same time, they're trying to require licenses for buskers. Like, you can't license somebody back their rights. You know, how dare they? This is the single most advanced attack on freedom of expression that has ever been. And it's happening in what claims to be a democratic state here in Ireland. Like, these are rogue municipalities that need to be restrained. Big time, quick, because they're getting out of control and out of hand. Don't know if they're drinking too much tea, but and the beauty of this is, because I'm only learning, wherever there's a gap and I don't know what to do, there's something doing something. You know, my left foot or my right foot or my left hand, or something's doing something. So it'll fill the gap where I've fluffed or ran out of breath or whatever, you know. While I'm just thinking about these things, and I'm throwing myself in the deep end with all these instruments, just to see what my brain can throw back at me, what I can do, what will my ability produce, you know. And throwing myself in the deep end, like you throw a child into the water and make them swim, you know. Really just immerse yourself in something, but in a way that still translates as decent to the listener. You're not trying to drive people mad with what you're trying to produce but failing to. So that's what I've sort of done here, is I've tried to place myself where I've always got something on my hand that's recognizable to me, that is somewhere in my ability to put down that snare, put down that kick, where I'm able to continue to grow and develop a little bit as a percussionist, because I've no traditional training. No. You think about different musical styles, a lot of it is just the placement of the snare. Like, you think about reggae. Reggae's on the offbeat. It's like boom, ka-janka, boom, ka-janka, boom, ka-janka. The accent is on the janka, you know, the boom, ka-janka. That's where the reggae accent is, you know. I'd have to listen more to reggae to really absorb it. But that's what it is. It's about accent. It's about placement of the accent. It's about playing with that, the timbre. And so the most engaging dance forms are probably some of the most simple, maybe excluding flamenco, because there's quite a lot of fast moving finger patterns in that would take years to do. Hey brother, great day to you. Hi Samuel, blessings, great day to you. All I'm doing here is I'm showing people the design of the cajon and stuff, and trying to just share with musicians and anybody alike who would be interested what I've done with the cajon and the kick drum to try and expand the scope for a drummer, or what the scope a drummer has on the cajon drum, and what they can actually access while they're doing it, So I've got a frame drum between my legs, I've got a didgeridoo in my hand, I've got a beater in my left hand, I've got a tambourine on my left foot, I've got a cabasa here beside me next to the cajon drum. Sitting on the cajon drum, I've got a kick drum built into it on my right foot, and I've got a little rhythm section. So I suppose what I was sharing in this video was the kick drum and its design to some extent. That's quite the lung workout. Yeah, so lots of potential there. I mean, most dance music, most trance music, all of that stuff that's designed for dancing to, it has and there goes like 1 million calories. Not quite 1 million, no. But they're all relatively simple, their snare, their kick, their appendages, they're to flesh out the sound and fill in the gaps, and trumpets and da-da-da-da. There's so much you can do, So yeah, I'm only really getting started at it, but I think I'm on the right track now, where I've got, something on every limb. And, I suppose that's when you really start to develop, is when you're challenging yourself and you're using different instruments and you're thinking about different things. Because what's interesting about the didgeridoo is you can blow it and create a vibration which naturally produces a note, of course, because it's a pipe, it's a resonator. But then you can also vocalize with that, so you can go, which obviously takes more air out of you, so you'll be breathing more often. And you shouldn't forget to, or you might fall off your cajon. But Iconica sup. What's that mean? Hi Iconica sup. I don't know what that means. Oh, the person there. Hi Iconica sup. What does that mean? Is that your actual name? And so of course, if I don't have the snare between my legs, I have one between my legs. If I don't have the frame drum there, I have the snare drum of the cajon. It's a different sort of a sound to it, isn't it? There's more available tones with this beater towards the cajon, I suppose, than there is to the frame drum. Imagine what an actual drummer could do with all this. Something to be doing with yourself. Little painting to share with you before I clock out the video. And bid you a good day. Whatever country you're in, may the Lord be with you. Nice, interesting little sort of a texture there on the flower. Do you see it? It's like a chalkiness because I didn't fill in all the, block in all the form. It's quite a nice effect. Yeah. So that's the crack. Little bear cub in the making. He's climbing the tree. Sort of like it's sort of in the style of a child's illustration, isn't it? That's the crack. So thanks for spending some time. I wanted to share the kick drum, the design of the kick drum, and just inspire people. You don't have to be the best drummer already before you start putting yourself out there. And that's what's key, you know, because they're trying to audition people for busking. That flies in the face of what busking is and has always been for centuries. It's to give people access to encourage musicians. And that requires to encourage both beginners and even masters if they design to go back to the street to do some busking, just to contribute to the culture. Because busking, very interestingly, is one of the only places early on in your life that you can hear music live for free. I love you too. Blessings. So that's the point. The point is that if people are putting these constraints and these chokeholds on little buskers, asking them for 60 or 90 euros, what's that amount of money for? It's like a protection racket. I already have the right to freedom of expression. I don't need to be spending money to gain or regain what are already my rights. And you can't place these regulations on things which are fraudulent. People might say, well, there's too many buskers. You know, we had to regulate it. No, you don't. Buskers will sort it out themselves. When's the last time buskers started a riot because they couldn't decide who was going to play in that spot? It's not a problem. They invent these things. They claim that these very isolated incidences are, you know, a problem pervasively. No. Most cases you just need to tap somebody on the shoulder and say, that's not what we do. That person was there first. They'll be there until they're gone. People can only busk for so long anyway before they need to take a break. So that's your opportunity then to take that spot if you want that spot, and if you don't, get another spot. If you don't want to wait. It's as simple as that. And if there's not any spots that day, you need to get there earlier in the morning if you want to be sure of a spot. And that's always been the case, and it doesn't need any change, and you don't need to place sanctions on what never needed them in the first place. These freedoms are innate, and, you know, a freedom I have in Cork, I have in Dublin as well. And Dublin City Council better get back in their line, stay in their lane, and stop trying to monetize busking. It is free gifting, and you don't need a license to receive a gift. You don't need a license to play a song, and you don't need a license to sit on the street. So when they try to put these licenses, these sanctions and these limitations on our rights, we have to say, hang on a minute, you can't license me back my rights. You're committing fraud now. Step away, get back in your lane before you get yourself in trouble. And that's how we have to guide them to behave properly and not get ahead of their station or above their station. Blessings in Jesus' name. Hopefully I've inspired you today to pick up something. Buy yourself, if you're not a percussionist, buy yourself a drum anyway. Just start tapping on it. Very therapeutic, very good for you to consider new new things. I'd encourage anything, artwork, percussion. You don't have to be Sting as a singer and a bass player. You don't have to be Dweezil Zappa as a guitarist. You don't have to be Eric Clapton on the licks. You don't have to be as good as somebody else. You are you at that stage which you are progressing, and that's all that matters. Just be you, and don't be afraid to do something because somebody else is better than you at it already. That's ridiculous, and you might inspire somebody else. You'd be surprised the profound effect you can have on somebody, even if you're not the best musician around. So don't be deterred, and don't be put off by bullies that say you can't busk because you're not as good as that person, or we didn't okay you. You're not on our signed off list. You haven't paid your dues. You don't have to. It's already your right and your freedom to go on the street and play a song if you want. It's already very difficult for a young person to do. It takes courage. Have you tried it? They don't need people breathing down their necks now, auditioning them as well. Back off. We have our rights. Back off. Blessings in Jesus' name. A holy kiss.